Okay, adjustments to the agenda. Actually, David Elwell, the fire chief, has a new hire that he would. Was due here any minute, would like us to approve, and I think we'd try. Adjustments to the agenda, actually, okay.
Yep,
Okay.
it just,
And I told him we'd try to fit that in quickly sometimes, and we take a few seconds, so hopefully he's gonna be here. Public comment for items not on the agenda. Terry, we still have, mine has still has election of a budget chair. And
yeah, no, I
secretary.
noticed that earlier.
Okay, I think.
No one picked it up when I sent them.
No,
Probably tomorrow's goes
We
through.
can just forego that.
Yeah.
Did the budget committee want to deal with minutes?
Yes, I was just waiting for,
Okay, because I don't see that on here as either, but is there a separate budget committee agenda? No, okay,
No, actually, but
okay, fine. So while we're waiting for David, so why don't you guys want to take up your.
so did everybody get the minutes that Kate sent out? And is there a motion to approve?
Make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
second,
Any changes or comments? Then all in favor? Thank you, Kate.
she won't know.
Yeah.
She's on her way to New Hampshire.
Okay, just one little note I wanted to, I was talking to Terry a little bit after the meeting about the thought that we needed a little more information on this boiler situation here. So I reached out to Jerry Hodgela today. He was tied up, he couldn't talk to me, but he said he'd get back to me, so hopefully I'll have some more information tomorrow night. A little more details on that. I now suspect he was probably at the bar. Over the grandson field, which is why I couldn't talk to me. But anyways, so I just wanted to make that a note. So I'm gonna ask David if she's here. If he isn't, I think we need to start. If we can. Okay. And if you come along, we'll give you the high sign. I don't want to interrupt.
Hiring a firefighter is vastly more important than anything else we're going to do here tonight.
Right. Conservation Commission, line 253, correct?
So. Let's present that,
Sure, if you're willing to.
and then recuse myself from the vote on it.
Well, I don't know that you need to, because you don't have a pecuniary interest in that, but you're certainly welcome to.
Here. Here, $518, whatever. So. We've asked for 518. Which we go for $100 is our dues to the main association conservation commissions. Put in 100, I think the numbers don't quite match up with what we ended up on Terry's budget, but we're going to be, we put 150 in for speaker fees. It wouldn't all be necessarily fees, but if a speaker comes from a distance, we'd like to help them with the gas, that kind of thing. Often they're willing to come talk, but we'd like to, not make them out of pocket for doing. Then we may, we're hoping to host a conference or some kind of get together of all the 6 conservation commissions in Knox County And hopefully we get some help with the cost of that, but there's some money in there for that. There's $18 for insurance for the 7 of us. And we will need roadside cleanup supplies. We want to get some more grabbers in particular, so that it's not such a strain for us not so young folks to pick stuff up. And other meeting supplies and materials for announcing programs and so on. And that's others.
Thank you, Walter. I guess we'll go with the budget committee.
Is there a motion to approve the Conservation Commission budget of $518? Is there a second? Thank you, Bob. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Sorry.
I was wondering, where are your revenues from the lawn sale and the cans and stuff?
100, in the neighborhood of 150 for various things.
And you have a checkbook or?
No,
Yeah, we have,
You do?
you have a separate line or something. that
Right.
carries-
Okay,
So she keeps track separately of the donations and bottle return and odd bits that we raised. We sold a couple maps, whatever.
thank you.
so that's something we have to carry forward that balance.
It's
So
a,
we're talking
it's a
about.
general
Yeah.
account that will just go forward.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Okay,
Sandra did recuse herself.
okay. So I meant pecuniary interest in a personal sense, so that you don't get a salary or a,
No,
yeah, so.
in fact, I don't know how much I'm out of pocket for printer supplies.
Well, welcome to the.
Probably welcome to the club,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Okay, we're gonna switch gears here a little bit. This is not in the budget. But by way of background, we, just before the budget, well, after the budget was done and out, the, can't remember exactly how we got to where we got here, but, the town has had, was approached, about possibly purchasing what is known as the Klein property out back here. Sandra, you might be able to help a little bit with the details, but it's about 10 acres. We believe it's landlocked, both physically and legally, although we're not
Yeah,
positive.
actually, what I can do is pass around the page so people can visualize exactly what it is.
I think, Terry, you put that in the packet, didn't you?
I didn't put it in the, I didn't put it in their
packet.
packet. I didn't think of it putting it in there. I can go make copies really quick of everything.
We discussed it at a selectmen's meeting. There was a representative there from Mr. Klein. The property is undeveloped, and he's offered it for sale to any of the abutters, of which, when you get the map, there are several, 3 or 4 or 5. Again, it's definitely landlocked in a physical sense. It may or may not be in a legal sense. And that's something that probably would take 40 years and $100,000 to figure out. But anyways, so we, as a select board, referred it to the Conservation Commission, which took a look at the property and felt that it is something that maybe worthy of putting in front of town meeting to see if the town wants to purchase this. It does about the town property here, way out back. And kind of, I guess, from the Conservation Commission's point of view, it kind of fits in with their long-term plan. And according to Jeff Smith, who owns a large parcel out here as well, that runs kind of parallel behind the Grierson property. It has old growth trees on it, and it's pretty untouched. So, the realtor indicated, I don't remember, do you remember what the numbers were the realtor said he was looking for?
Was it
35. Right, they had appraised it at 74 or something like that, but since it was potentially landlocked, they felt it was worth about 35,000. We have it assessed at 12.5. We just felt that we perhaps should have a discussion about it, perhaps put it on the warrant either as we haven't finalized as a board what we want to do because it came up so late. But should we put it on as just a kind of an open article and see if the town is interested? Or should we put it on as a capped article? We haven't even gotten that far yet, but we kind of wanted to have a conversation with you folks about it as well. I think we were thinking that the 35 was excessive. And at one point, we talked about writing an article and capping it at the 12.5, which means the town meeting could reduce, if town meeting wanted to purchase it, it could reduce that amount, but it couldn't increase it above the 12.5. That's kind of where we're at, I think, at this point. Jim, you got anything to add, or?
Yeah, the other part of this is that landlocked raw land, it's really hard to come up with a price tag. And I think you can put a price tag on it anywhere from 4,000 to 10,000 with fairly easy. I mean, if you went with comps, you could find those 10 acres of raw land. So I think offering or putting in a cap at what we have it appraised at would even be generous. I don't think I don't think it's worth that much either. Although it fits in nicely with what the Conservation Commission wants to do with the land around here.
So can we hear of the conservation's viewpoint on it, Latour? Just out of curiosity.
So, when Jeff says we looked at it, you need to understand, we have only looked at it on paper because it is truly inaccessible. Jeff Smith, who the abutting owner on two sides, tried to get into it. Heard something that might have been a coyote or maybe something more aggressive and decided he'd go home. So anyway, as you can see, what the Conservation Commission has been thinking about is in terms of preserving some land in a state of nature, untouched. We have, as luck would have it, town property west of the stump dump. And I'm not sure how many acres that would be. Plus, Jeff Smith has offered to sell his land to the town, which is 118 acres adjoining. And I talked to him this morning, and he said, yes, he will put it in writing that he would sell it to us for 50,000. So that's about $425 an acre. And then if the Klein property was there too, it would be a really nice piece of forest, meadow, bit of everything. There's a little bog, I think. There could be trails, and it would certainly be habitat for wildlife, which we're running out of. So that's what the Conservation Commission has been working toward proposing to the town, and the Klein offer kind of jump started this, and they got out ahead of us. So we said, well, here's where we are. You're looking quizzical. Is there a particular question?
Why do I look inquisitive?
You look quizzical. The question is coming up.
My only comment / question is, I don't know if you should bring something before the town without saying somebody's went out there and walked the land and to see what it is that would be purchasing.
Well,
Yeah, and I think there's time to
I
do
guess-
that.
Yeah, I mean,
Before
but-
town meeting.
I mean, somebody could very well ask that at the
Yeah.
town meeting, say, you know,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
what is this plan?
Yeah. And again, this just came up.
Sure.
It just dropped on us. The timing is poor in a sense, but on the other hand, it's being offered to the other brothers, one of which is the solar field.
Although they're renting.
I know, but it's still possible that someone could come in, buy this piece of
Yes.
property, clear the land, put it up solar field in there, you know, and in some ways, I think some people that would be a shame to lose that for that purpose. So I mean, we could put it in front of town meeting with no recommendation from the budget committee or the select board, just like we did last year with the 7,500, or we could not put it in front of town meeting. I guess whether or not it goes on the warrant is of course the select board's decision. I guess whether we recommend a certain amount of money or something is certainly within the preview of the budget committee. Or some cap or something like that, so.
And we've got two ways of doing it. We can either build it into the budget, and it could be a line item under the capital improvements, I think we call it, a line item for the purchase of land. And my personal opinion is that I don't want to do it unless we do it out, that we pay for it out of surplus. But I can get over it. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. It's not the board's decision. Or we can do it as a standalone where it is, it'll impact the budget, but it's not part of the budget. Which I think that's how we did the 70.
That it is, how we do, yeah. Yeah. And so it's kind of an awkward situation because we as a board haven't even formally decided whether we're gonna put it on the warrant, so we're asking you to review something that. But we value the input, so.
Can we back up, Sandra, what did you say about Jeff Smith's land? He said he'd be willing to sell it to us for how much?
50,000,
I mean. that-
118.
I mean, that's a bargain for that amount of,
It
Right?
absolutely is a bargain. And
Yeah,
I mean, that even sounds more interesting and
Well,
enticing.
we're pursuing that, but we're not.
No, I mean, not right now, but.
Well, no, we may put it on this meeting warrant, but I mean, again, this all just sort of exploded at our feet last week, you know what I mean? But we don't have anything written from Jeff yet. We don't have a formal presentation. He's
Although,
talking. 'Cause-
I talked to him this
Right.
morning after last night's meeting, and he said he might want to wait to talk to his lawyer who's out of town, but he said he would put it in writing and make an offer. to
So we're not
his
quite there yet.
Sure.
Well, what is the acreage deal on this stump dump? Isn't that like 100 acres?
I think it's, boy, with the stump dump's not very far back on this property.
And there's two, it's actually two adjoining parcels of town owns.
Yeah, but the little one's way out back.
Yeah, well.
No, but I mean,
they-
there's a huge one.
Yeah, I can pass that over to the house.
They already own 100 acres.
I think more than 100.
I do too. It's quite a bit.
I
I
had
think
it.
the survey is hanging up in the old meeting room.
Yeah, 'cause
I
it's-
just walked out to Roger Young's property through the town property. It's rough going.
So I understand, landlocked is no water.
Yes, it's this.
No.
No access road
Show where the
shows.
stump dump is.
Is that the way?
There's no,
Plus this, which
we got two conversations going. Why don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sandra's got a question here. So there's no physical access at this point. There's no road, there's no. Well,
Yeah,
it might be a footpath. I don't even know.
Not
if
even.
Footpath.
Jeff.
And there's no deeded right of way or easement.
That
Can the
is
property
unclear.
be sold without that?
It can to a.
Just in the bottom.
That is unclear, and the seller does not want to spend $60,000 in lawyer's fees to figure out whether or not he's got legal access to it.
So in other words, the town of South Thompson owns this, so in some ways, we would have the ease of access
Oh, we-
into this
yeah,
property.
Then the access is here on Route 73.
Okay. That's what I wanted to clarify.
It's still not easy access.
No, I'm sure it's not, I'm just saying.
this is ours, and that's
Yeah.
fine.
Legal.
And
we
these
have
lots
legal
here
access
go all the way
to
to
all
131.
Physical,
Where's Don?
it's so overgrown
Be,
that it's hard to put bushwhack in.
or
What
up
was-
in here.
I think he has quite a bit.
Yeah, he does.
It's state of nature, we've got.
Yeah, he's right. Doesn't that say, don't, I don't like
This
glasses.
is better.
But better.
This is.
Katrina Morehouse. No, it's
Yeah.
here it is. Don.
Okay, right here, yeah. And this, I think, used to be Klein property too. Okay.
But isn't, I thought that was just access.
I think it is
through
now.
town.
I think it is now. I think at one point. So anyways, we don't wanna, belabor the whole night on this, but,
Interesting.
Yeah.
yeah,
A
but,
little bit of a way, can I say that? A little, it's kind of a nice problem, have to.
Right.
Yeah.
think about.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
And what I can foresee happening is several warrant articles. That has select board recommends or doesn't recommend. Budget committee recommends or doesn't recommend, and conservation commission recommends or doesn't. I suspect conservation commission
We
would
would
be
recommend.
recommend. And that way the town would have a feel for all three participants in this process, and what their druthers.
so I don't know where we go tonight with this, because. Again, we have Sue, you have a question? Is that, you raising your hand or?
No, I'm just trying
Oh,
to,
okay.
just trying to adjust.
I don't know where we go tonight with this. But maybe we can revisit it. We just dumped it on you guys. Maybe we can revisit it the last night or something, and by that time. Because I guess the first decision is we need to decide as a select board whether we're gonna put it on the warrant or not. And then if we decide that, then if there's a dollar amount in there, the budget committee can or cannot recommend.
We can do that over Zoom, yes?
Pardon?
We can do that over Zoom,
Thursday?
over Zoom.
Uh,
If you're not there, I mean, if you have your warrant teed up in 2 weeks, we can.
Oh,
meet
I see, yeah, we could reconvene as.
If
that's
people are
true.
scattered, okay.
Yeah.
I think it's that important. I do agree that we. It's hard as a president. I can just see sitting at the town meeting, like, what are you talking about and where is it? Do you know what I'm?
Yeah, I would think that if we do put it on there, we ought to at least have a display that shows.
Yeah.
No, and I'm just saying, but if you have the town people behind you and so forth, then it makes you feel a little bit more like, oh, okay, if they know what they're doing, we'll trust them, you know, just.
And if the town chose to purchase this property, I mean, it would be conservation. I mean, would there be any other purpose other than conservation?
I think that is our intent.
Yeah.
Jeff is, if he thought we'd do anything else with it, his offer would disappear.
Yeah,
Okay.
He wants it in conservation.
So would an easement go on it, possibly?
it could be a condition of, it could be a condition of the sale with Jeff. It's currently not a condition of the sale with Klein, but I think, I agree with Jeff. I think that was our intent. And then, of course, the Conservation Commission has talked about potentially, for lack of a better word, encumbering some of the town land too, and we really haven't had that conversation yet, where that might start, or if it happened at all, or whatever, so. So again, I don't wanna.
That's the part we weren't ready to talk about.
Right, again, it's all just sort of just, like I said, all of a sudden, the guy hit the line drive at our feet, we can't react. But I personally feel that, given what the Conservation Commission has been talking about, I think I personally would vote to put it on the warrant and at least let the town decide.
And that's the way I'm leaning.
Yeah. And because if we keep it off the warrant, then the town doesn't get to decide.
So I suggest if you do that, if there could be an advance notice that at least, on the website to the listserv. It
We
says,
do an information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna bring this up, and if you'd like to study ahead what we're talking about, here it is.
yeah. Well, when we tried informational meetings in the past, and they just, nobody comes. I mean, poor David Allen spent hours developing that fire truck thing and 3 people showed. Which is why I really like the idea. Last year, we had that advisory article on. And we're gonna do another one, I think, this year on another subject and at town meeting, because at least you got some people there to talk about it, so. Okay, so go ahead.
What's the timing for confirming the warrant?
Well, actually legally, 7 days before the meeting. But we'd like to
You
get-
want to put it in the town
We'd like
report,
to
though,
do the
don't you?
town report, but we certainly in the past have had slight differences between those in the town report, and what we posted warrant, and that's okay. Hate to do that, but. So May 1st?
I was just gonna say, I'm asking the wrong person.
Yeah. All right, well,
Harry, what's the answer?
May 1st.
so let's let this all just percolate a little bit. It sounds like at least 2 select board and Sue, I don't know where you stand, at least want to put it in front of the town. I think you thought it should go in front of the town in some form.
Yes, I do.
So I think we sort of, even though we haven't voted on it, we sort of answered the first question. We'll let this percolate and let me see if David's young man is here. And then we'll move on. For those of you who don't know, this is David Elwell, who's our new fire chief. Hey. When anybody has ever hired, under the current form of government that we have, the hiring authority is the select board. And so whenever anybody is hired as an employee of the town, they have to get approval from the select board before they can formally start. So this is sort of a routine, but David, you want to introduce
Yeah,
yourself?
this is George Sheehan. He lives in South Thomaston. He actually joined Thomaston Fire first. He just moved up here recently. And he works in Thomaston. He lived there and now he's moved to our town and would like to join and help us out, and I'll let you give him a little background where you're at.
Just introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is George Sheehan. I grew up in New York, lived in DC for 8 years, and then I just accepted a job at Lyman Morse in August, so I moved up here for that. I'm a carpenter at Lyman in the new builds department. I was a volunteer firefighter in New York where I grew up and wanted to get back into it once I moved into an area that had volunteer firefighting. So I joined Thomaston and have been training with them and started the Fire 1 and 2 program in the Knox County Fire Academy. And so I'm in that process to become an interior firefighter up in Maine. And we just recently, my girlfriend and I moved to Spruce Head in February. And so now we're settled here and I hope to jump on South Thomaston, help out.
How long have you been running with Thomas?
January, I started in January. Due to housing switches.
You're gonna try to do both or?
I'm gonna respond during the day at Linden to Thomaston. And then during non-work hours, I have an agreement with work that I can do that. And then non-work hours, South Thomaston as well.
Sue, any questions?
No questions.
Okay, and where are you living in Spruce Head?
Spruce Head Island, just so on Century Farm Road.
Oh, okay, okay, we're neighbors.
Oh, great.
Okay, is there a motion to accept David's recommendation to, I'm sorry,
George Sheehan.
George Sheehan.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor, Sue?
Sue, I.
Jeff, I.
Aye, John? Welcome aboard, thank you.
Thank you so much.
So much.
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
So David, if you would leave that door open, but close yours.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Town road. Page.
28.
Okay, I'll present this as the interim uncompensated road commissioner. So, it's my intent to, the board will have me to continue doing this for another year or so. So we took out the road commissioner stipend because I'm gonna do it on a volunteer basis, and we did put in $100 just in case for some reason I wasn't on the select board. That makes me an employee, but if I'm not on the select board, then I'm not an employee and I wouldn't be covered under the town insurance, so that's why we put that in there. So, there's no wages in there. I had put some in initially, but decided to take them out because I was hoping I maybe could find someone to help me with a few projects like science and stuff, but I probably won't be able to, so. We took that out. I put in money for installing a few culverts. The price of that can vary depending on whether it's a driveway culvert or a crossroad culvert. I do know there's at least one that we'll probably want to, a crossroad culvert that we'll probably want to do next year. And they do come up from time to time, some driveway culverts and stuff. I put in 8,000 for ditching and berm removal. I could use 40. We have ditching and berm needs everywhere, but we're just kind of tapping away at it. Bushing and limbing, put in 8,000 there. I could also use 40 there, but patching and striping, and then miscellaneous, and that ends up being everything from tools to bolts and just, you know, little projects of a tree will come down or something and we'll have to get someone to clean it up or whatever. So insurance is in there. Have money for signs, which are very expensive, by the way. And culverts themselves. And then the big nut is paving and road improvement, and I wanna, this is a little confusing, and this is one of those situations where we have, with a fiscal year starting on July 1st has actually caused a few little hiccups. I'm gonna pass this around, I should each take one. And when everybody has this, I'll go over it. Yeah. So what we had hoped to do this year and didn't do was entire Lincoln Island Road. We did end up doing to the bridge, but not beyond that. And the reason we didn't do it is because the price of paving skyrocketed last summer from about $70 a ton to $120 a ton. And it never really came back down until late in the year. It really hasn't come down as much. It hasn't gone back to 70 and probably never will, but it is closely tied to asphalt price. I mean, fuel prices, energy costs. So what we're hoping to do this summer, this season, I'll say, is the Island Road from the bridge to Granite Street. There's a couple hundred feet that's really rough, just as you start up Rockledge Road, where it's delaminated right there on the very bottom of the hill. And Village Road and the Stump Dump Road from the gate in and Chapel Street. I had proposed doing Westbrook Street, and the select board took that out, of their budget, that was 154,000, that's in column H, line 11. And that's another complicating thing, is you can't get a firm price on anything. So I estimated 115 a ton, but everybody now uses a fuel escalator and an asphalt escalator, and you can't get them to do it if you don't agree to that, and you don't know what that cost is gonna be. And that's tied with a state. The state publishes an escalator every week or every other week, and they go by that, and so you don't know until the day you actually pay, which you can't get them to commit to. What the cost is gonna be. But complicating all this is Thursday, I'm meeting with Hager, because they called me up the other day and said they have they have a small window at the end of April and a small window at the end of May, where they might be able to do the Island Road and the Village Road for us. And they anticipate that as we get deeper into the season, prices will go up, so if we can do that, I'd like to do that this year, but that kind of screws up the budget, because I planned the budget for assuming we do those projects after July 1st. So that's what column K is about. And I do think that if we can get them to do it, we should jump on it and do it. And we do have the money between what we haven't spent so far this year and what's in reserve to do that. So I'm not quite sure how we present this as a budget. One thought would be, because the other thing is the weather, you got the weather too. And in April in particular, that's not only going to be rain, it's going to be temperature. It's going to have to be warm enough to do it in April. And again, I'm meeting with him Thursday to kind of go over some of this. So one thought is that we just budget it the way it was proposed, assume you agree with it. And then if we are able to get these projects done prior to July 1st, then at town meeting simply reduce the budget by that amount. And that way, if it doesn't happen by July 1st, we can still make it happen. Am I confusing everything?
So then it just come out of reserve?
Well, no, because we'd have to carry forward the 72,000 that we didn't spend this year. So, yeah, so it'd be reserved in the 72,000, but yes, money on hand.
Yes.
And if we did it, we get it done before budget time, before we town meeting time, then that would just decrease the amount we have to take from reserve to cover that particular.
Yeah, in either way, the reserve is going to be gone. We're actually, 2,351 short still of being able to fund just that general paving. So, and then the other big piece in here is Westbrook Street. There's a sections in the valley there that are really bad, and we pave them and then separate again. And so the proposal here is to what they call reclaim, which is basically chew it up, recompact it, and put down a base coat. I originally wanted to put down the base coat in the 4,300 square yards that we reclaim, and then repave and overlay from the joint coming down the hill just above it. What's Brian called?
Pumpkin Hill?
Huh?
Pumpkin Hill?
Yeah, just below it's at where the paving was stopped a few years ago and then go all the way out to 131. But was the 154,000. So I guess the plan at this point is simply to do the reclaim and the base coat and let it settle for a year, which actually is not a bad thing before you do the overlay, because it's not going to compact perfectly. And if it settles over the winter, when you do the overlay the next year, if we do, it would actually be a better product. But
What if we don't do it the following year? What happens to it?
well, you're still gonna have that. It's gonna get worse.
Yeah, but are we gonna lose?
No, I don't think you're gonna lose it. I mean, it's a 2-inch base coat and Rockwood did it that way. I personally feel that we're gonna need to do that though by then, to save, to keep that in good shape, but.
And if you don't do it, it takes it from a 7-year life to a 5-year life.
or something like that. Exactly. And there's other places that certainly need it, but I think these are the worst places and, so, and everybody I talked to, from the engineer who did the road work for us, Andrew, to both paving contractors that I've been talking to, feel that was just throwing our money away on that section on Westbrook Street. It's just, the base is obviously, you can just see where it kind of slides out to the side there if you look at it, and it's a sub-base problem, so. It's expensive, but hopefully it'll fix that area once and for all.
Gotta get your foundations right.
Yeah,
And that-
so that's my presentation.
Does that include ditching in those areas
Where
where you're gonna reclaim?
no, that would sort of
Cause I mean,
that's really, I don't think that's a huge issue there. Those areas, Westbrook is pretty built up and
right,
the ditches tip off and any berms on the side will get taken care of during the reclaim, so.
and why aren't you putting white lines on Westbrook?
Money. I just think the center line is the important one on Westbrook.
It's a dangerous road.
It is.
I worry, when traffic's coming toward you, you're supposed to use that white line to keep yourself on the road.
Yeah. Yeah. We never even striped them at all before, if you remember.
Wow,
That's
I
what the
think-
ditch was for.
Yeah.
that's the problem with it, those
Yeah,
ditches, they could kill you.
They are.
You're right.
No, I don't disagree. I mean, the white lines are actually called fog lines, I believe.
I don't like to drive on Westbrook at night.
No, I don't like to drive on Westbrook, period. And I will tell you something else too. I haven't mentioned this to the Board of Selectmen, but I think that after we reclaim this and repave it, we should limit the truck weight on that road. And put them out on the state road. Because it's number one, it isn't built for those heavy trucks coming over those hills, but then again. Dublin's not much, I mean, not Dublin, Butterbell's not much better, but.
Is that a state road?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's what
Those
they call,
Dublin,
it's what they call a state aid road, actually, yeah, they do. They do summer maintenance, we do winter maintenance, so. Yeah, not enough, but, so, questions?
Yeah, the 72,043 of carryover is out of this current year's
Yeah, that's what
operating
we
budget
did.
that you're not gonna,
That's what we budgeted for paving and we didn't spend this year.
okay, so, but you spent all of the Island Road money on the renovation. That's all over, is that right?
We didn't, we did, what, a couple $1,000 short of the grant amount? I can't remember, but virtually, yes.
Yes, virtually.
Yes.
I've only been on it.
And we did an overlay from the stop sign all the way to the bridge, including over the construction. The two construction areas.
So I've only been on it twice in 2023. How's it holding up?
I think it looks great. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And I'll tell you one thing, in that storm in December, I went down and looked at that low area there by the Hui dumps, and I happened to be talking to Kerry Uvinen, who was coming through because he thought my car had broken down or something, and the water was really close to the new road top.
They did a nice job.
Yeah.
They did a nice
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, I knew that it was okay in that storm because I got no pictures from Kathy Baker.
Yeah, yeah, the only complaint I had was two complaints that I had with them is one is they didn't do as good a job on dust control as I thought they should have, and I still have an issue with those little rocks right there by the right as you approach the bridge, and Jimmy Calix has an issue with it too, since he broke two wing irons.
They jumped up even more, it seems like.
Yeah, well, because he hit him with somebody hit him with the wing, I won't say who. But we're gonna try to fix that, but other than that, I think they did a great job.
Have you,
So, more questions?
have you had inquiries about road commissioner from prospective road commissioners?
No. And we haven't really tackled it as a board on what we want to do about it. And part of the reason is because I'm enjoying doing it and I want to do it for a little while.
Well, that's fine.
And the other part is philosophical decision on how
Yeah.
we do that. I
Right.
mean, we had a construction company as the road commissioner, basically. So the construction company did most of the construction work. I mean, so that's one way of doing it. The other way is.
Also, sort of the typical old Maine model.
Correct, yeah. The other way is you just have somebody like John, who is the road commissioner, has nothing to do with the actual repair, big repairs, and contracts all of that out to the independent. And so it's a philosophical decision that the board really hasn't wrestled with.
Right. So, I mean, de facto, because of what you've done, you have shown a different model.
Yeah.
Um,
And Hotbed has that model too. I mean, the gentleman who's the road commissioner over there just basically organizes and, contracts and,
I still tell people that you sneak in here in the middle of the night from Georgia to put up the postings. And then you come in the middle of the night to take them down too.
Actually, I have done a few things like signs and stuff, right? But, okay, so more questions? Comments?
Yeah, my question is, what we just went over here, that what you handed out. I'm not really seeing how it plugs into the budget.
Well, it would be
Because I guess the issue was when the work's gonna be done, right?
yeah, so if you look under if we keep it the way it's proposed in the budget. Here, in the book, that would be column I. And that's probably the best way to do it, because it's amazing how quickly I'm gonna be there next week turns into 6 weeks. It's amazing.
No, it's not.
And weather does play a big part. I mean,
Already
And-
halfway through April.
and there's a ton of paving going on out there. The state is doing a ton of it and so.
And I hate putting this out there, but I think if there were a year where we might want to bring the budget committee back in late, like just prior to town meeting, to reaffirm the budget, this would be a year we might do that. And the reason is because of this. I mean,
Well, this and maybe back.
yes, exactly. But we may not know. By probably May to mid-June, we're gonna have a pretty good feel on this. Which way this is gonna fall out, and it may mean that we have to discuss the budget.
And plus, I figured this at 115 a ton. I haven't. If I knew what paving was gonna be a month from now, I would be a million.
So we're gonna plug the bigger number into the budget then tonight.
Well, that's my recommendation. Just stick with that at least for now. And then maybe if we do reconvene the budget committee before we actually.
But we need that number to start with, because
The 188
we can't, no.
Yeah,
for the pay.
188, yeah.
561.
Yeah, and actually the true paving is gonna be more than that because we're gonna spend the 72,043 that's a carry forward. Well, you don't want to budget that twice. Because we budgeted last year.
It's already there.
So that's one of those. Because you are carrying it forward on June 30th, it rolls to surplus and it becomes a set aside.
If we set it aside as a designated.
Yeah, that's the other.
Right,
option.
yeah, okay.
Which is another reason I'm not being as aggressive on surplus.
If we just let it lapse the surplus, there's two ways you could get to the same place. We could let it lapse the surplus and then use 72,000, assuming everything else was equal, out of surplus. Or you can hold it in a designated account and then you have 72,000 just for paving. But once it goes into surplus, it loses its identity as paving money, so to speak.
So that, that model's worked a couple of times and it puts it right out there as for everybody to see it.
Right.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the town roads budget at $383,364?
So moved.
Thank you. Kenny, Bob,
Anybody?
any comments, questions? The snowplow rebate, contract rebate from the state appears in revenue, is that right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm still getting that, because you mean for Jimmy Plow in 131,
Yeah.
the state section,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, all in favor? The ayes have it again.
And the cost of that is in the snow.
Right.
So we're moving on to solid waste.
Oh, boy, what kind of a mess did I leave you with,
Stephen.
Jeff?
9:31. Oh, that's easy. Yeah. Well, I can do part of this, or Terry, but I don't, and Jeff can do the part about the transfer station, right? So.
I'm sorry. Does anybody remember who moved and seconded on Conservation Commission? Because that went past me.
Penny made the
Penny
motion and either Linda or I
Okay,
seconded.
thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna run through this fairly quickly, it's pretty straightforward. We have the operator's salary. We actually don't have an independent operator at this point, but Phil is assuming that duty. And we are paying him not that much. It's not as much as budgeted is here, because he's kind of weaving into the other duties, but we did decide to give him some money. I can't remember how much, but we've left it at the same amount in hopes that maybe at some point we will have a formal operator, although this seems to be working out fairly well.
Yep.
And in some ways with Bill right here, it's easier in a way, so. But some of the things like I've been doing the supervising the burning and stuff on a volunteer basis and. I'm not sure I'm gonna do that forever, because every time I go out there, I cough for 3 days after. Okay, demo debris attendant, we're lucky, we have a very dependable, long-term employee there. And that includes his wage. We have some small other wages built in, just in case we have to hire somebody else. If he's out sick or something, or we maybe can hire somebody to and go out there and keep the place open. Veteran Medicaid roll-off service is basically the transportation, correct, Terry?
Yes.
Yeah. To haul the cans in and out. We have the container rental and push down. That's basically, in order to maximize the weight in that, you gotta take a backhoe and kind of crush it down. If not, you're shipping air, and the cost per trip is the same on the transportation, whether you're shipping air or lead. I thought we took out the fire wash money.
We thought about it, but you said you probably. Forever.
Yeah,
We wanted to actually try to hire our.
okay.
And that might work now.
Huh?
That might work now.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. The phone is the $200 for the phone. And does that include electricity out there?
No, that's on the building and grounds.
Okay. The septic disposal agreement is, well, the DEP licenses for the license of the demo debris facility. The septic disposal agreement hasn't gone up in 600 years. And if we have to have one of these by law, it's basically the contract we have with the interstate, where people who pump out, companies that pump out yours or my septic has a place to get rid of it. And they literally, it's been the same for,
As long as I can remember.
yeah, years.
I heard a rumor that it has just gone.
After 23 years.
Yeah.
Insurance is based on Terry's formula. We're not doing any stickers this year. No equipment. Fuel surcharge. We do get a fuel surcharge from our hauler. It's been in play this year. Not sure exactly where you came up with this number. You got this number, Terry, didn't you?
It's their number, it's in the contract.
Okay. But it may or may not happen depending on fuel prices.
Right.
Or It
But
may
they-
happen to some degree.
Right,
And disposal fees are actually the tipping fees for the waste in the can. And the transfer station, I turn over to Jeff.
Yeah, so several things have happened at the transfer station. They are finally in the last throes of doing the remodeling of the area. So any of you who've gone by there have probably seen that. And been, very shocked about how it progressive. That's been a mess, and that's been a mess for probably about 7 to 8 years. Because the whole process was just gummed up and gobbled up, and every time they put it out for bid, they would get somebody with a better idea, and they would put a delay in it. And so that's showing up right now, and every single better idea late has had a ripple effect in the process right now. So there are all kinds of things popping up that were missed by all kinds of levels. So that's not a pretty story. And if you watch any of the solid waste videos on that, you'll see that it's a pretty sad story. I have advocated now for the last 2 times to bring the lawyers in, because I just think it's a travesty of what's going on anyway. So we haven't seen the last of that, but you're not seeing a whole lot of extra money in the budget for that. Because it's all been put in, that each town took the money that they saved, transferred them from one disposal site to another, and dedicated it to this process. Last year and this year, they've also, that's the only place you're seeing that they put in an extra $50,000 as a contingency on this process, and they're spending every bit of that. But what is really driving the increase this year is that for the last 3 years, they have been trying to get a new trucking contract. There were a lot of issues with the old contract. And it took them quite a while to come up with a request for proposals. And they put it out on the road. They finally had put it out 3 times before they got one reasonable and possible or one that even made any sense bid back. So we got one bid. It was probably higher than what I expected, but not much. I expected it to go up significantly. Because they put it on the street when gas prices were as high as they were. Everybody now is doing this ratcheting up for fuel. So you don't even know what it's really going to be, but you have to build in the worst case scenario. And because of the renovations and the changes, we now require that whoever does the trucking to own the containers that the trash goes into that they haul off, and then but then rent it to us. So there's a rental fee. You saw that for ours as well. So anyway, it was a very, very significant increase. Almost everything else that they are doing has stayed pretty much static. with minor increases. They are only given, I think, 5% increases on wages. But the trucking fee went up significantly, and we haven't recovered. So the trucking company that we've had for the last probably 10 years, they're still around, but they're no longer participating. And with that, we lost a lot of corporate memory. So it's I'm painting a really horrible picture, but it's getting better. But it's taken a long time. I mean, the last 3 years have not been pretty for that organization. And primarily because you think about the last 3 years, what all's been going on. There was no way to get somebody to commit. We got, the first time they put it out, they got 0 bids back, nobody. And there's probably 6 companies, 3 large ones and 3 small ones, that do business in this local area that could have, should have, would have bid on it, but for one reason or another, they didn't. So the next time we got 1, and it was not for what we really wanted. And so we had to put it out a 3rd time, and finally got one that was acceptable. So I'd like to say that it'll change in the future, but I think we're now at a new normal, and that's the way it's going to be going forward. So next year probably won't be a significant increase, but it's not going to be a significant decrease either. It won't be the zeros that we have had at sometimes in the past, where you make no increase from one year to another. So,
That in itself was a mistake.
Because you're right.
I mean, and
Yeah,
I take full responsibility for that.
yeah.
Having been the treasurer, because if you get people accustomed to 0,
That's right.
we should have always had a little bit of. Was an argument that Gordon Page made with me, and I would reject it every time. And in retrospect, that was a mistake.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say that. But I agree with you. I think that's a philosophical budgeting kind of mind think, is that we want 0. No, you don't. You want a gradual increase every year. You don't want spikes and valleys, and you don't want it going up and down. You just want a constant increase. So, any questions?
Is it just discrepancy between the department heads and the select board will become $100 or so? What's that?
We had an estimate the first time for the department. I put in the estimate of what I thought it was going to be, and then we had the final budget meeting for the co-op, and so the next number is what the actual number was. So it's an estimate versus an actual.
Got it.
Okay.
So that's the 209, 932, 7, 932.
Yeah, 207, 952 is actual.
No, Malta?
Okay, is there a motion to give preliminary approval to the solid waste budget of $316,597?
So moved.
Second.
Bob and Linda. Any discussion? All in favor?
I'd like to add one more thing to this. Of all of the things that we pay for with our taxes, everybody knows that the schools is by far the largest one. The county is the 2nd largest. But the number one that we pay for in the town is garbage. It has been that way for as long as I can remember. Garbage is always the one that eats up the most amount of our taxes. For sure.
I still think we should be doing paper bag.
Yeah, that.
So the little old lady isn't carrying the same load as the family of 12. throwing their trash away.
Pay as you throw, you mean?
Yeah.
Who does
Yeah.
that? But,
Philosophically, I
Rockport does
agree with
that?
you, but there's a lot of, it's difficult. Yeah. To administer. But conceptually, I agree with you 100%. I mean, people just game the system, I mean, just. But I do agree with you. Okay, we ready to move on to recreation? Line 1152. Page 37. Harry, we walk us through this, or? There isn't really much
It's
to
not
walk
really.
through.
No,
So $1,000 is for the Little League's fees, is that
yes,
correct? So South Thompson residents can participate in. I don't even know what the organization is, but.
Little League.
Okay. Outside Little League, I don't know.
Oceanside.
Sports.
I don't recall why we reduced the 5,000 for the repair maintenance of skateboard to 1,000, but I think it had something to do with. Didn't we put some money?
We put money in the
Yes,
reserve.
Yeah, okay. So that's probably not really a reduction, it's gonna show up. On the flip side.
Oh, we didn't do the paving reserve.
I don't
We're
think
not putting
we
any.
proposed it.
Because we're taking money out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's okay. So I guess probably the easiest way here is just questions. I can give people a little update on the basketball tennis court. Rehab if you would like, but I won't bore people if they're not interested. It's not
Still stuck,
directly
yeah.
related to the budget, but it could be.
Well, were things done?
Huh?
Were things completed?
No, I would say that they are
Not even,
stalled but not abandoned.
Is it more about, well, because you don't resurface that with.
it's beyond resurface.
Yeah, it's a long story. And-
Yeah,
and,
no,
that was-
last year,
Yeah.
but I didn't know if it.
Well, it's even, of course, we modified the grant just to repave the basketball court and kind of put off rebuilding one of the tennis courts and get the handicap area, and I'm giving you the Reader's Digest version. Put it out to bid, and we got no bids to repave the basketball court, because you gotta bid it, because it's a federal grant. So I called up the guy the other day and I said, what do I do now? And I said, we'll have the authority to negotiate with someone, basically try to talk someone into it. And he said, go for it. So I'm gonna try to do that Thursday as well. So,
Is that a specialty thing as far as the recreational board as opposed to someone paves the road?
the basketball court, no, and, it's, I guess it would. The tennis courts are definitely, that's a different type of thing, but. Yeah, I think it depends on the quality. But you do want to use a really fine aggregate. Sure. Yeah. And of course, so,
But it can't just be part of doing the stump dump road.
no, I gotta get a separate price, but it might work that way. But, I don't know. I gotta talk to them. So, plus we gotta get the fence down in the front so they can back the pavers and, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's just, it's hard getting anyone to do anything.
Want benches back,
Oh, yeah, sure.
nets,
Huh?
nets,
Not quite yet, I don't think.
okay.
Only because I don't want to put them up yet.
We've had a couple people come get the pickleball. net.
Yeah, but then bring them back in though, right?
Yep.
Yeah. We'll put it out there, but it's a little early, I think.
It was 60 degrees today.
Wait till Friday.
Don't get used to it. Okay, is there a motion to approve the recreation budget of 2,450?
So moved.
Second? Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Linda. Any discussion? All in favor? And you
Okay.
created a reserve for the skate park? Is that what I heard?
Well, I think it's called recreation. 1233, which is page 39. Yeah, we're proposing, $10,000 to select with into a recreation reserve, which actually could be used for, well, actually, any person related to recreation, but the thought was, skateboard park work. And perhaps, depending on how much that costs and what we do there, future work on the tennis courts and stuff. Because we're gonna need, if we're gonna rebuild one of those tennis courts, we're gonna need some significant money. And that's looking like that's the only way to go. And, you know, once we get this modified project done, if we get it done, this grant, then we can apply for another grant. But with that, to rebuild one of the tennis courts, but it still requires a 50% match. So,
John, when you say one of the tennis courts,
well, the thought now is one of the tennis courts is basically unusual. And one of the tennis courts is can use it, it's not great, it's getting worse, but it is being used for pickleball, quite a bit. And occasionally tennis. So the thought is, the current thinking is to tear up the court that's in worse shape and rebuild it. Which would allow the other one, and that may take a few years to get through this process. And that will keep the better one for now, so people could at least use it for pickleball and. Because we have quite a bit of pickleball out there in the summer now. I mean,
Yeah.
3 or 4 days a week, right? There's a regular group on Thursday.
Yeah.
So that's the thinking.
Mhm.
But none of these plans are working well.
So did the skate park get those skating surfaces? I forgot the name of them, having done all that research, that were lifting up. Are they still in that condition or did they get replaced?
They got removed.
They got removed. Oh,
A few of them, but that's probably gonna, I don't know, I haven't gone and looked at it lately, but I can't imagine that's doing much good for the plywood
Well,
underneath, but.
plywood needs to be replaced and that's why skins have to be lifted.
It's a mess still.
Hmm.
Yeah, and we need to do something.
And one of the reasons that we put it in reserves instead of in the budget is because we're just not convinced that we're gonna be able to get to it. In this budget year.
Now, is any of the monies that were pledged for the tennis? Or the
You know,
current
we still got
reserve?
that. We still have that held aside and we,
So the recreation reserve with the balance of 5,026, that's not including those. That's in the different. To be applied to the grant.
yeah, that was, yeah, last year was the first year we had that reserve, right? Yeah,
Yes.
okay, so the 5,026 is
remember-
the 5,000 plus $26 in interest.
Yes.
yeah, because I remember standing up at town meeting, because Rich made a motion to add money, and I ended up standing up and saying, I don't want anyone to think that this is gonna solve the problem out back with the tennis courts, it's nowhere near it. So. Can't remember if that was a 5,000 or not, no, I don't think it was, I think you just added money to the,
Yeah, he took it up to 10,
Yeah.
the total of
Yeah.
the 10,000. Most of which is gonna lapse.
or perhaps from this,
Oh, he raised the budget,
yeah.
so, and that didn't
And it
have.
didn't really get spent, but maybe that we should use that to fund this, I don't know what you have on your sheet, but that's another discussion, but.
Okay, is there a motion to approve funding the recreation reserve in the amount of $10,000?
Second.
Second, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Okay. We did F, debt services, that should be quick. Because we either pay it or we get a judge to tell us we gotta pay it. $1,189. Okay, there we have that.
38.
Terry, you wanna present this?
Sure. The ambulance repayment is 33,639. I believe there's,
That's the last one, correct?
isn't there one more? There's one more that's split between ambulance and rebound.
Oh, I thought this was, okay. You might be right. You probably are right.
This is the fourth payment.
Three,
Walter,
four.
is this the last one?
Yeah,
Okay,
we got
okay,
a,
so this one's gonna be split.
so I had it starting in 2020, but it didn't. It started in 2021, but it's still 4 years.
Okay, no, this is the last one. You won't see this number again
And this is the one that's split between two.
between.
This one
Yeah,
should be
and this is the
split.
money we borrowed from ourselves,
Yes,
from the fire truck.
Yep.
Reserve and whatever the other reserve. Rebound.
rebound.
So does it go back to reserve?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's.
So we pay the interest to ourselves.
You get a good rate.
That's up to Terry.
The interest on the building renovation is $5,009 and the principal will be $19,497. Streetlight loan is $8,154. And this is a 5-year loan and our first payment was made October 2020.
And no interest on the tan.
And no interest on the
Right,
tan.
I
It was
noticed that.
absolutely amazing. Not to have to do that and not always be looking at the checking account like, oh, God, I don't think we can make it.
So that was a significant benefit of changing the fiscal year.
Yes, yes, it was.
That and doing two.
Yes.
Two collections, yeah. Except for the, how many people? 200 and some people?
Oh, that's
I've missed the-
60 that we're still tracking down. Phil was calling some people today.
I forgot. Because I'm just so used to paying it in the fall. Terry calls.
And people come in and say, what do you mean I got 53 cents of interest?
Mine is 34 cents.
That's why I pay it all.
I should have.
Well, I-
I just totally, I knew it was there, but there's.
Would it pay to do a second mailing?
Well, we talked about a
We've talked about it,
postcard, right?
postcard, yeah, but. I don't know, I'm conflicted.
A bulk mailing postcard, which says, if you haven't paid it all, come back.
I put a sign in the post office today. Hoping that will catch people's attention.
People start to get used to it as well, because
Yeah.
it was just that fall
And
thing.
we'll try to reach as many people as we can. I
And
put it back on
put a
the
sign up in the
website.
window, I see. and-
Yeah. It just seems like. I don't know. It's gonna cost us something. To make someone pay it.
But
Yeah,
it's
it's-
also gonna cost you to put liens on.
Yes, it will. But if someone,
Postcard's cheaper than a lien.
it is, but if someone pays late, they have to pay their 53 cents or whatever and. I mean, granted, the people will end up paying interest, but I don't know.
I like the postcard idea. For a couple
It
of
should
years.
be like bright neon, so it shows up in.
And you can mail it to just the people that owe tax.
Right,
Because then you got a bunch of people that probably haven't paid
Right.
their first tax.
That's right.
So-
yes, yeah.
They get a different color.
And then we have the people who don't pay their taxes.
Sue, you got a question?
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay. No, that's all right. I feel sometimes like we're ignoring you, so,
No, I'm listening.
okay.
All right, is there a motion to approve the preliminary approval of the debt service budget of 66,300?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
Services. 1070. Yeah. We've had no general assistance this year.
No, I've given out lots of applications. They don't like the length of them.
So did you say you haven't had any?
I haven't had any this year, no.
You've had people come in and take out the application. and-
Yep, and then they don't bring them back.
It is rather onerous.
It is. As it
Do
should
that on
be.
purpose.
No,
Well,
it's
that's
a,
a state.
it's a state form.
Oh, I know.
So no matter what town they have to, they have to fill in that same kind of form.
Food stamp form for the government, all that.
Well, I don't know that there's much presentation that needs to take place here.
Yeah,
It is.
I'll solicit a motion to approve social services budget preliminarily at 1,500.
Second. You.
I thought it said, oh, okay.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
General public safety, $592,991.
I have no idea how to turn this on.
That's Siri.
Budget. Move to preliminarily approve $72,991.
Save and close.
Seconded, motion passed 5.
Pretty cool.
No, I see what I did. Okay.
Okay, we have one, we obviously are not gonna do the fire and ambulance, that's tomorrow night, but we do have one other item for Thursday night. Do we wanna take that up? I'm not sure why that's on Thursday night.
Because that's the only night Betty could come to do
Do
her,
we need her though?
nope,
Oh. Okay.
And then she wouldn't have to make the trip down here?
Yep.
I mean, if we do need her, we can
I don't think,
put it off. Would anybody mind? It's only 5.
No.
We'll take, you know, and if we got some questions, we could put it off, but. So that's, line 758. And some of this isn't related to Betty at all, right? It's
Right.
dispatching and. Yeah, 25. You want to run through it, Terry, real quick?
so discuss the, under salary and stipends, the EMA director, the assistant EMA director, the E911 coordinator, ACO and public health officer. All their, salaries and stipends are listed there.
I'm sorry, is there an assistant EMA director?
There
Becky
is.
Butler.
Becky Butler. Okay.
Yep.
I knew that. So she's recovered from her accident, I guess.
I didn't know Becky had an
I
accident.
thought she was in the car crash. Never mind.
How rumors start.
Well, it's,
Yeah, I don't know.
We actually
Right.
opened the shelter here,
Mhm.
the temporary warming shelter, when we had the power
Right, and
outage.
she was here then.
And
Oh,
she
okay.
and I knew this one, and Betty was in Sprucehead with the Sprucehead crew.
sorry.
And Cliff is
Cliff
our
is-
health officer and Cliff Dasco, and he's asked to only be paid $100. Right?
Correct.
But he,
The difference is he's donating to. He's setting up a water test program.
is that the LHO fund or something that is?
The what?
So we've got the LHO fund. Which is 2070.
Line 786.
Yeah, that's, that looks like that's where his
Yeah.
2174 went.
Yeah,
Yes.
So that's to allow. Funding for people who need it. They're gonna do. He's putting together some water and. I guess just water.
if he's doing water, it helps to do maybe radon in the fall.
And for those who need assistance with it, that fund is being set up to help people can. Those tests,
Which line is that?
787.
He basically came to us and said, instead of giving me a salary, can you put this money in another line that I'll use for the water testing for people who need assistance? And we said, yes, except we're gonna pay you $100 because that gets you on insurance. So.
So how is he facilitating the water testing?
I'm not,
He's been,
he's working with Amy, I'm not sure what the.
he's been working with Drexel White, and he's contacted some of the companies around that do water testing. I don't think it's gotten past that yet. He's waiting to
Yeah,
hear
he's kind
back.
of putting it together. Right?
Okay.
He plans on advertising it well
Yeah.
for the town, you know. But I think it's a concept at this point, but. But I could be wrong. He may be further along, and I feel like,
I don't think he's gotten any further than contacting
yeah,
people. The dispatch fees for Knox County dispatch. The animal control boarding is for Pope Memorial, so if a stray gets picked up, they'll take it in until the owner's found.
is that enough?
Yep.
I mean, we spent 3197. And so far in 6 months, we spent 1,600.
Right, but that's probably the 3 payments. Sometimes
Okay.
Phil pays things a little
Okay.
earlier,
Okay,
but yes, that's a fee.
okay, I just wanted, it just looked a little askew, but okay.
On EMA supplies, they're $900. The ACO asked for 400 and the health officer asked for 100. To make a budget of 72,991, and the most of that is dispatch fee.
And nobody's putting mileage in,
No,
okay?
and there is no reserve.
Yeah.
Account for them this year.
Welcome.
Okay, I thought the dispatching fee went down this year. Maybe I had an early version of the county assessment, which our total assessment went up significantly, did it not?
Yeah, they put out an early version that had, I don't know if it was erroneous, but it didn't have the right numbers that I find. Messed up my bookkeeping books as well.
Okay, can we, is there a motion to approve preliminary approval of the general public safety budget in the amount of 72,991? Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? And we thank Cliff for his
Yeah.
commitment and generosity.
Yeah. Oh, back.
He's sending out interesting newsletters.
Yes, he does send out. Voting for another one.
So, is there any other business? Do you want to adjourn the budget hearing first, or would you prefer to wait? Wait, okay.
No, I was
take-
just gonna ask, so Thursday night, is Jeff gonna walk us through, the North Graves truth?
I will.
Okay,
And again, we haven't finalized things, we may have a little disagreement that we need to settle. Right.
okay. Sound
But
like-
So I'm gonna take a line from Jeff, so. Without objection, the select board is adjourned.
Without objection, the budget committee is adjourned.
That's all I need is vote.
Did you learn that from Jeff or did you learn it from Benny Thompson?
Thank you, everybody. In retrospect, we could have done.